Hi boys and girls, we are going to do our theme circle and we are going to talk about our focus question of the week, which is how do we learn at school? And we've talked about some of the ways that we learn at school, and one of the ways that we can be better learners and that we can learn at school is to be safe at school, right? And we talked about how important it is to be safe on your way to school. And while we're in our classroom, it's important to be safe. And while we're in the lunchroom, it's important to be safe, right? And if you remember, yesterday's wow word was explore. We were exploring ways and we were finding out all about how we could be safe at school. And today we have a new wow word. And I love this picture because I love the beach and I love the ocean. I love finding seashells. And what do you think this child found in the picture? Can you see? Now, what would you do if you found something in the sand? Would you pick it up like this child is? I would, especially if it was a beautiful seashell like this. And a lot of people like to discover pretty seashells at the beach, right? Have you ever done that with your family? And if you look at the picture, this girl was taking a walk on the beach and she was happy to discover a seashell in the sand. She decided to pick it up and look at it. When you discover something, you see or learn about it for the first time. Now, whenever we're at school, we're learning about a lot of new things for the first time, right? There's a lot of new things that we're discovering, like how to act at school and what our school rules are, and we're learning about colors and shapes and patterns. So we're discovering a lot of new things at school. And I hope that as your teacher that you'll discover something new every day. Now let's read this book again called Safe at School. And let's see if we discover something new in this book that maybe we didn't see yesterday. So remember, the title of the book is Safe at School, and the author is Nicole DeSalle. All right, and remember, this is our table of contents. Does anyone remember what it tells us? Well, it tells us everything the book is going to be about, and then it also tells us the page to find it on. So let's read about this, the school safety. School is a busy, happy place. There's so much to explore. If you're safe at school today, you'll learn and discover more. Going to school, and we talked about how important it is to ride to school safely. So let's read this. It says, buckle your safety belt in the car. Stay seated and quiet so the driver can hear you. If you ride the bus, wait for the driver's stop sign before you cross. And we talked about how red means stop. Kind of like in our classroom, we have a stop sign before we go in the door so that we have enough room to open the door, right? This means this says yellow means to slow down. And we have our yellow sign. And what does green mean? Green means go. Now, when you're walking to school, this is the ways that we can be safe when we walk to school. We can obey all street signs. So if we see a sign that tells us to stop, or if we see a sign that tells us to go, so we can look at those signs and that'll keep us safe. Now this says to look both ways before you cross the street. You should never go across the street without an adult with you, but also you should make sure to look both ways to make sure that a car isn't coming. And we're going to cross at the crosswalk. That's a special place made just for friends who are walking. And walk with a group if you can. That's the safest way. And this sign right here means to walk. This means do not walk. And a crosswalk, like I told you, is a safe place to cross the street. Now, we're going to talk about ways that we can be safe in our classroom. Why do you think it's important to be safe in our classroom? Why might that be important? Well, the number one reason is we do not want our friends to get hurt. We don't want anyone in our classroom to get hurt, right? Now, do you think if we're following the rules that we can learn a lot more things in Head Start? I think so. If everyone's following the rules, then we can learn more things and we can discover new things together, right? So that's 2 reasons that I know why it's important. Now, how can we be safe at school? What are some ways that we can be safe? Well, there's lots of things that we can do to be safe. We talked about cleaning up after our messes, and we've talked about making sure that we use our hands for helping and not hurting. But I know some ways that we can be safe at school, right? We have some classroom rules, and you can't see them very well. But if you follow those classroom rules, then you're going to be a very safe school student. And our number 1 rule is we are good listeners. So when Miss Rachel or Miss Dusty or any other adult is talking, it's important to listen, right? Because they might be telling you something very important. Number 2, we work and play safely. So we talk about that, right? We use our centers for what we're supposed to play. We don't throw things. We clean up our centers so friends don't trip. And rule number 3, we are kind and respectful, right? So if you're kind to your friends, then it makes our classroom a safe place, right? Friends feel safe and they feel like they can have fun in our classroom, and they're not afraid to be here, right? And rule number 4, we take care of our classroom and our school. That's a very important rule because you want to make sure that our school is a safe place, right? So let's talk about in our classroom some of the ways that we can stay safe. So what if you're using counters on the floor and oops, they spill? How can you stay safe? Well, I see this friend in this picture. It looks like this friend is picking up the counters, and I think that's a very good way to stay safe so that friends don't fall over your mess. All right, now in the Science Center, you're looking at fish and hermit crabs and you pick up a crab. How can you stay safe? Well, we definitely want to make sure we put the hermit crab back in its cage, but do we need to wash our hands to make sure we don't have any germs on us? I think so. All right, let's look at this one. You are in the art center and oh no, paint spills on the table. How can you stay safe? Well, I will go ahead and tell you, friends, that sometimes accidents happen. And there will be times that paint might get spilled on the tables. But what's very most important that we do when things like that happen? You can tell myself or Miss Dusty, or you can also clean up the mess, and we can also help you with that. And then this is talking about when we're at our cubbies and we bring our backpacks. Our backpacks do not belong on the floor. So this says you're ready to go home and your backpack is on the floor. How can you stay safe? Well, friends, if we put our backpack in our cubby, then it'll be out of the way and no one will trip or fall over it. Now this talks about in the lunchroom. In the lunchroom is where we eat our breakfast and our lunch. So we're going to talk about some ways that we can be safe while we're eating. So it's important to be safe at lunchtime. Keep your hands to yourself, right? So you don't touch friends' food, you don't put your hands on them, you keep them to yourself. And you need to stay in your seat. That's very important because if you get up, then you might be lost in the lunchroom, or me and Miss Dusty can't find you. So that would be very bad, right? And raise your hand if you need help. I had 3 friends yesterday that were raising their hands and telling me they needed help at lunch, and I was very proud of them. Wipe up your spills. We always do that, right? And you eat your own lunch. It's not safe to share our food. Although I know most of you would be sharing your food to be nice, it's still best we keep our own food, okay? So it is important to be safe on the playground. Wow, yes it is. So we use our playground equipment properly, and we've talked about we don't run, or we can run outside, I'm sorry. We don't run up the slides, right? We go up the stairs and down the slides. And we take turns. That's very important. Everyone gets a turn. And we wear the right clothes. So if it's cold outside, we need to bring a jacket to school. And if someone gets hurt, it's important to tell Miss Rachel or Miss Dusty so we can help them. Now, this talks about a fire drill, and I'm so glad that it does because we had a fire drill yesterday, and you friends did a great job walking to the playground and waiting with Miss Dusty and Miss Rachel. Now, whenever we are having a fire drill, you have to listen carefully to your teacher because your teacher is going to tell you what you need to do and how you can stay safe, right? So that's very important. We're going to quietly line up. Remember yesterday we talked about we stay really quiet so that way you can hear your teacher and other friends can hear your teacher. And we're going to walk carefully outside, right? We're not going to run and scream and yell. We're going to walk in our line quietly. And remember how we all waited together under the shade tree? We waited until it was safe to return to the building, and right, a fire drill isn't a real fire, it's just practice in case there ever were. But we waited, and remember Miss Dusty, she counted each of you to make sure that we had our whole class together. And it's always important in a fire drill to act like it's a real fire. That way, in case there ever were a real fire, we would know exactly what to do. So, be safe at school, discover and explore. And we talked about both of those words. When you choose to be safe, you will learn so much more. So friends, I hope that each of you practice safe ways and talk with your whoever's helping you watch this video. Talk with them about safe choices at school, and you can comment and let me know some safe choices that you thought of. And I will see you all very soon. Bye for now.